Jesus freak here. After a couple years of using cell phone, there's no issues with the phone. It's still working perfectly fine. But I had to replace the battery because the fact that I've had a tendency to keep it plugged in as often as I could means this thing's swollen. So I just replaced the battery today, and while I was at it, I replaced the micro SD, which, since I just tested it in here and it doesn't show up, little thing, probably dead. Now, this is a 32 gig chip, and I've had it for many years. I should ask my friend when he sent it to me, because that's what happened. You know, he gave me it. 32 gig chip. So yesterday, Pastor Brett said, you know, well, I'm going to come down because, you know, I'll give you a spare phone and a spare battery. Which is very nice of him to be able to do that. And he just happened to have an extra Motorola E5 with the exact battery that I needed. And I took the back off the one he gave me and put it on this one because, you know, I like the fact that it doesn't say any brand on it. I have the other one set aside in case something happens to this one because I like to keep the same model phone. I went through 3 different Samsung intercepts before I got the E5 Cruise or whatever it's called. But we went down to the place I got the phone, and I told him, you know, well, I'd like to find a 64 gig SD card, but I looked everywhere and I can't find it. I've been to Office Depot, I've been to Rite Aid because they sell them, I've been to Walgreens because they sell them. I just don't see them. So we go into the store and he asks, you know, oh, do you have micro SD cards? Said, yes, we do. And how big? And he asked me, he said, what's the biggest you got? She said, we got a 64. I said, you have a 64? My jaw was about on the floor already. He said, yeah, we'll take that. And then she's like, you know, it's the last 64 we got. Dare I say the P word? Predestination! Well, anyway, a blank 64 gig card is going to tide me over for quite a while. Even if I have this thing set all the way up. Doesn't activate the automatic focus in this thing, but I have it set to 1080. This is which honestly, you know, I got a 1080 camera connected to the computer, and on Linux it doesn't want to see that it's 1080, except, oh, it'll cap at 1080. at 5 frames per second. And I think, what was it, 10 frames at 720, even though I think it's supposed to be able to do 30. Probably a driver issue. But this is the same phone I've had. I couldn't recover the ringtone, so I had to make a new one. Puritan. Look her up. She's the OS Tan, I guess you could say, of Christianity. But I used to have Chiptune's version of Daft Punk's D-Res from Tron Legacy as the ringtone. I'm like, let's put something that's going to shock me to life when I hear it. Hey, it's some of the earliest hard rock from 1968. I cut down the Beatles' Revolution. Just the intro, the electric piano solo, and end. 30 seconds. Compressed it to death so that it's as loud as I can get it. And set that as my ringtone. I'm like, what else is going to get my attention? It did get my attention because my dad called not too long after. It's certainly a different ringtone than D-Res, but it works. I've been messing around with Linux on the old computer, which I had to put back into service as my main computer after I toasted the newer one, which I have to thank my friend FMA1394 for coming up and fixing after, it stopped working because something went wrong with the heating. But I got everything working now that I was doing on the other, so I did wind up getting owned. My computer got owned, but it was something simple. All it did was it'd kill X window every 6 hours. Once I figured it out, I fixed it. And just to make sure nothing like that happened, I had the SSH server turned on so I could log into my computer remotely. And apparently someone made use of that. So I changed some of the settings so it'll refuse any password. Can't use a password, you gotta use a key. It took me quite a while to figure out how to get a key working with the program I used to send files from my phone to other computers. I wound up having to take the key. I couldn't use the key I use on this phone to connect to my mail server because somehow it didn't like it. It keeps saying it's files are wrong format. I wound up having to take the key off this computer and upload it, which is not a good idea, and then download it to the phone. Worked. I'm getting into the thing just fine. no problem. I could just, I'd take my videos, upload them. Just upload them directly from the phone to the computer and do whatever. So that helps. Anyway, it's pretty much what went down yesterday. Jesus, freak out.